From MTN News, you're watching Montana This Morning.
The rules for recreational marijuana sales in Montana have finally passed the legislature. What those rules will and will not allow, coming up.
Plus, a special report first on Montana This Morning about problems that make travel on Montana's highways among the most dangerous in the country. Drunk driving. Find out how new laws may soon make penalties tougher.
6:30 on this Wednesday. There's your live shot from the Montana State University campus. Gorgeous out there right now. Beautiful evening. It looks like we've got a couple more gorgeous days before spring returns.
Yeah, one of the perks of being on the early shift is we get to watch that every day. Well, most days. Some days we don't have the relief that we get.
No, that's true.
I get the pretty colors. Temperatures this morning very mild. Right now holding into the 30s for most of the area. 19 degrees in West Yellowstone, among the coolest that we have. The cloud cover is pretty thin, really not going to be a big factor in the day. We'll probably see more sunshine by about mid-morning, and then another round of clouds trying to roll in early tomorrow morning. There's that shot. Beautiful morning. Our temperatures should be well into the 60s by the afternoon. These temperatures continue to climb. That is a fantastic shot in Butte as well. Looks like by the end of the week, we could be talking record highs. More on that forecast coming up in just a little bit.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:31 now. The Montana House has given final approval to the major bill for implementing recreational marijuana.
MTN's Jonathan Ambarian looks at what will come next as the state approaches the start of legal sales.
House Bill 701 was introduced less than 1 month ago. Since then, it's been through the House and Senate, been heavily amended twice, and been tabled and revived. And now it's on its way to Governor Greg Gianforte's desk. On Tuesday, the House endorsed the Senate's version of the bill, 62-38 on a preliminary vote, then passed it 67-32 on a final vote less than an hour later.
But we will walk out of this session having, delivered forward to the people of Montana something that works.
The decision came just a day after the House voted to reject the Senate's changes to the bill and send it to a conference committee, then reconsidered their action shortly after. Representative Mike Hopkins, a Republican from Missoula, sponsored HB 701. He said he understood why people wanted to take another look at the bill, but that this was the best option for implementing recreational marijuana, and it would have been a mistake to reject the amendments.
The ramp that we have to the end of the legislative session, the work that the Senate had already done, and the agreements that they had already come to, meant that sending this bill back to a conference committee wouldn't outright kill it, but would go about as far towards killing it as you could go without killing it, right? It was a bad idea.
The bill still drew opposition Tuesday from conservative Republicans in the House. They had concerns about the use of marijuana tax revenue, and especially about the provision allowing counties to ask for a local option tax on marijuana sales.
Plant your flag on this day, because this was the day that we opened the door to this new tax that will find its way into communities as that argument gets traction. And we will rue the day that we did this.
Under HB 701, existing medical marijuana providers would be able to get licensed to sell to recreational customers starting January 1st, 2022. They would be the only ones allowed to enter the market for the first 18 months. Counties would be able to opt out of allowing recreational marijuana businesses if their voters supported the legalization initiative I-190. If a county's voters rejected 190, they would have to specifically opt in to allowing those businesses. In a statement to MTN, a spokesperson for the governor's office said Gianforte is encouraged by the progress of HB 701 and will carefully review the bill when it reaches his desk. In Helena, Jonathan Ambarian, MTN News.
We've also learned House Bill 701 would direct some of the revenue from marijuana sales to Governor Greg Gianforte's Heart Fund for mental health and substance abuse treatment.
Well, staying in Helena, a bill increasing penalties for repeat drunk drivers is now on its way to the governor's desk after a final vote in the House on Monday.
This is Republican Representative Bill Mercer's bill that would increase fines and jail time for a fifth and subsequent DUI conviction, including mandatory prison time after a seventh. The bill had suffered a setback a couple of weeks ago, but was reconsidered and is now close to becoming law.
While Montana has a huge drunk driving problem, the state consistently ranks among the worst in the nation for drunk driving and drunk driving deaths.
We know 0.08 is the legal threshold for DUI in Montana, but what does that mean and how do you know if you're too impaired to drive? MTN's Jill Valley explains.
No amount of alcohol is good when it comes to driving, but Montana's legal limit is 0.08. What is that exactly? We asked Community Medical Center ER Doctor Josh Holexa.
So BAC stands for blood alcohol content, and it's a measure of the concentration of alcohol in the blood. So typically we think of 0.08 as the legal limit, and that means 0.08 grams per milliliter. Another way to think about it, if someone was slightly over the legal limit at 0.1, that means 1/10 of 1% of their circulating blood volume is alcohol or ethanol. The more people drink, the more they think they're able to drive, and that's what makes it really dangerous.
We know alcohol impacts concentration, coordination, reaction time, the things we need to drive safely. And for some, even one drink can cause impairment behind the wheel.
There are many different factors that can impact your BAC or how drunk you're getting. And those things include your age, your weight, your gender, how fast you're drinking, what you're drinking, do you have food in your stomach, are you on medication? Even altitude can play a role. The thing is, though, is that alcohol is going to lie to you and tell you you're okay to drive, when maybe you're not. So instead, maybe consult one of these.
They are $2 single-use breathalyzers called Think Twice. A dozen area businesses that sell alcohol carry them. Our volunteer is testing it for us today. It measures your BAC up to 0.08, and bar owners appreciate that it is a tool and not a toy.
When I realized that it wasn't a game, which a lot of those things tend to be, people check to see how high their blood alcohol is. This one stops at 0.08, so it just gives people a good idea of where they're at after they've had a few beers or a few drinks.
People are definitely buying them.
At Cranky Sam Public House, Jen Hagan wanted to participate. In fact, there are signs on bathroom doors that she hopes will trigger a sense of personal responsibility.
We want to make sure people are safe, so we brought this in as a tool to help people think about it, to be more conscientious about it, and to also realize that in Missoula now, there's really no excuse for it because you can call Uber, you can call Lyft, there's still Yellow Cab available. Back a while ago, that wasn't available as readily, but it is now. And people do have an opportunity to make that choice now.
Both Mike and Jen are encouraged by some of the new ways their customers can make safe choices while still enjoying themselves. And while this single-use breathalyzer may not solve all of Montana's drunk driving problems, if it saves one life, then that was $2 well spent. In Missoula, Jill Valley, MTN News.
And Jill tells us you can buy these tests yourself for any event you're hosting, a party or a barbecue. If you're serving alcohol, there are also studies that show alcohol consumption has skyrocketed during the pandemic, including binge drinking. So as we head into summer, it's a very good time to really pay attention to safety and sobriety.
Arrange to get a ride.
Absolutely. It's always a good time to pay attention to safety and sobriety.
There you go.
Right.
Yep.
Well, 6:38, it is Wednesday. We're making it through. There will be no designated survivor for the president's speech tonight. That's a departure from nearly 40 years of practice, but there's a good reason why. We explain all of that and why it's happening after the break.
But first, let's check in with our friends at CBS This Morning to see what's coming up at 7.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, we'll talk with one of the jurors who convicted Derek Chauvin. Plus, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki will join us to discuss the president's address to Congress tonight and the administration's first 100 days in office. Also, only on CBS This Morning, singer-songwriter John Legend on his mission to build trust in the COVID vaccine and how he can't wait to perform live again. And award-winning actor Mark Ruffalo will tell us about the Solutions Project, why he says tackling racial injustice is an essential part of fighting climate change. All coming up when we see you at 7.